Oh, okay, so that's gonna get in the way. Yes. Move that fellow all the way. No. Yeah. All the way here. Yeah. Alrighty. Go to channel. Boom. Yeah. Okay. We got that here. We got this here. I need to get that other one going. I do not have any links. Thanks for asking, diabetes. Type 2. Make sure the headphones are out. Don't need that echo showing up. And while you're here, diabetes, feel free to follow. You know, that'll be swell. Oh, shoot. I almost messed up over here. Where was that stuff in there? Oh, could have sworn I saved it. Oh, hold on. Might need to go here and save it. Because I have not freaking saved this chain. Or maybe I could just only open it on chain. Shoot. Turn on. Add FS change. There we go. There we go. Got it over here. Turn that all the way down. Up to 4.1. Audio's good. Refirm is good. No, 3 viewers. Welcome, welcome. Just to let y'all know, it's gonna be a narration. It's part of part of some stories that will be up on the channel later on. Mostly next week or so. Not next week, more like this weekend. That's when they'll be out. I don't know the way up. And now let's start off recording. Start off with the intro for the channel. At least the intro for this story. Get it done. Welcome back, Outlaw. I see that you want more of that mail crypt. Welcome back, Outlaw. I see that you want more of that delivery service for cryptids. Tell you what, we just got the newest release right now, and I'll be more than happy to read it to you. Oh, snap. That is bad. That is bad. Oh, a good thing I noticed that. Stop! Delete. Delete. Oh, no, 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 no. That would have thrown me off guard so much, having the recording start so late. Nah, I can't have that happen. Take 2. Welcome back, Outlaw. I see that you want more of that delivery. Welcome back, Outlaw. I see that you want more of that delivery service for cryptids. And guess what? We just got the newest. Guess what? We just got the newest issue of it. And I'll be more than happy to narrate it for you. So go ahead and relax, and let's get this show started. I deliver mail to cryptids. We got the easiest job possible, but still almost die. Written by 02321. Narrated by Gamma Akutabi. With a special guest of now I'm having a brain fart about this. And there we go. That was a word. With a special guest of an anonymous narrator. Alright, let's get the story going. Start off from the tippity top. Because of a very embarrassing event I do not wish to even think about, let alone write down, I became a mailman that worked with cryptids. My first job was a rocky one. My first job was a rocky one, and I ended up being the reason why my partner lost his leg. He not only forgave me for what happened, but he trusted his son. Oh, there goes whistling sound. Because of a very embarrassing event I did not wish to even think about, let alone write down. I became a mailman that worked with cryptids. My first job was a rocky one, and I ended up being the reason why my partner lost his leg. He not only forgave me for what happened, but he trusted his son, Max, to be my next delivery partner. He was a pretty good fit. Max had an endless amount of energy and answered my many questions. He was a pretty good fit. Max had an endless amount of energy and answered my many questions the best he could. I still did not have a handbook to explain the rules of I still did not have a handbook to explain the rules of my new job and the culture of the world I had been thrown into. Even after a few delivery jobs, I didn't have a good grasp of the Even after a few delivery jobs, I didn't have a good grasp on the creatures around me. Max did answer my questions, but he easily got distracted because he was equally in the dark about human culture. While we did our job, I often ended up talking about how the human world operated and totally forget to ask him questions. I carry a notebook tucked inside my uniform jacket pocket, but only fill a few pages of what I had learned so far. We finished a few delivery jobs together. Aside from the disaster the first job and second job had been, we were doing pretty well. I assume we got easy jobs because I was human. Being human made me lack certain skills needed for this job. Still, I try my best, even if most jobs really was just sitting around when you are Still, I try my best, even if most jobs really was just sitting around when your client frequented to hand over a package or letter. Oh, excuse me. Still, I try my best even if most jobs really was just sitting around when your client frequented to hand over a package or letter. To hand over a package or letter. I was ready to do a shift in the I was ready to do a shift in the morning room, but saw I received a text about a delivery job and the door location. Every time it was a different building, but the doors all lead to the same room. I will find a panel beside the lock entrance to swipe my blank card to get inside the zero room. Those rooms, as far as I knew, existed out of time and space. They looked like an empty office and couldn't be controlled when and where to appear. They were used for they were used for they were used for use to meet the call. They were used for use to meet the cold yet creepy receptionist to give us our job tasks for the shift. For once, I arrived after Max. He was holding 2 bags of chocolate, a wide smile on his face. I rarely seen him this excited. He was always in high spirits, but today he was bouncing on his heels. His claw feet scrap. His claw feet scrap. His claw feet scraping the carpet. We have an easy job today. Yes, that's gonna be him. that's gonna be a voice changer. So you're hearing my voice, but that's not what y'all are gonna hear once the final product is over. We have an easy job today, he explained and couldn't stop from wagging his tail. He explained and couldn't stop from wagging his tail a little. Yes, Max did had a tail. He also had a large fluffy. Yes, Max did have a tail. He also had large fluffy ears that blended into his sandy brown hair on top of his head. His eyes nearly glowed because of how bright of a yellow tone he had been gifted with. Each time he smiled, each time, each time he smiled, large teeth made me a little bit nervous. Claw fur hands had accidentally cut mine a few times when he handed me things in the past. I was never mad about it. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. His nails were so sharp and grew back every time he tried to trim them for my sake. When I first shook his hand, I felt small pats on his fingertips, much like dog paws. I've wanted to touch them again ever since, but wasn't sure if that was an offensive story. But wasn't sure if that was an offensive. But wasn't sure if that was an offensive. But wasn't sure if that was an offensive request. Haven't we always had easy jobs? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Anytime we have problems on a job, anytime we have problems on a job was because I let my emotions get the better of me. I knew if Max or Rufus, my first partner, worked with me. I know if Max or Rufus work. Oh, goodness. I knew if Max or Rufus, my first partner, worked without me, they would have no issues. It wasn't as if we had been sent into overly dangerous areas, and the creatures we deliver items for wouldn't attack us because of the no shooting the messenger rule. Although it was very unnerving being treated like food by all of our clients and all of my coworkers, I knew if Max didn't work with me, he would have no issue eating me. I still like him as a person, but that fact still made me a little nervous. This one's going to be super easy, like a few minutes tops. And there is a surprise after too. Let's get going. I barely had time to drop off the packs of gum to the receptionist sitting at the table. It had become a habit of mine. Sure, she never really talked to me or gave me that many friendly look. Sure, she never really talked to me or gave me that many friendly looks, but I thought her job must be boring and getting some gifts might brighten up her day. Max had taken my arm to drag me to the door on the other side of the room, pushing me through. Where we ended up was in the middle of a hiking trail. Oh shit. Where we ended up was in the middle of a hiking trail. Normally the doors to the delivery location came from already existing doors in the area. If there wasn't any, a door just appeared until we closed it. The trail was dark and I was bare. The trail was dark and I wisely brought a flat. The trail was dark and I wisely brought a flashlight. In the past, I had drained my phone batteries on the delivery jobs. Max was naturally faster than me. He would walk a few paces in front of me, stop and wait, then keep going. It felt like a video game escort missing. But I was the slow NPC everyone hated. I really didn't even know why they needed me on these jobs. Maybe it was just for the learning experience? I wasn't helping most of the time, and sometimes just made things worse. Max stopped on the trail and crouched down. I joined him, seeing nothing special, just dirt and grass. I waited as he sniffed the air, double checking we found the right spot. Then, I noticed movement in the grass. Max did too, and opened the bag of chocolate. It was one with small pre-wrapped assorted pieces. At first, I thought some sort of rodent was moving around in the grass. When I saw what it really was, I knew why Max had been so excited for this job. These tiny creatures were absolutely adorable. If you didn't mind spiders, that is. I don't really know the right terms for supernatural creatures. I've heard the name arachne being thrown around for half human, half spider monsters, but I may be wrong, because apparently the name also goes with a Greek myth I was too lazy to read about. Anyway, these things were small, only 4 inches tall. The top half of them were human enough, but covered in a soft looking fur, and each had different pastel coloring. Even their spider bottom had half even their spider bottom had even their spider bottom half even their spider bottom half had fur. They did not look threatening at all, with 2 large fangs sticking out from their mouths and 8 black eyes looking up at us. Very politely, they took a chocolate from Max and scurried off into the grass. Some even did a little excited dance, tapping all their little feet before leaving. What are these things and why are they so cute? They should be illegal. Oh. What are these things and why are they so cute? This should be illegal. I said, not being able to get over the fact that there was such a small and precious monster species. They don't they don't have an English name because you humans can't see them. You're only able because it's your job. Once a month they all gather to get some treats. You're only able because it's your job. Once a month they're all gathered to get some treats. The postal company cover it because they can get it. The postal company covers it because they can get kind of, well, they like to pull pranks on humans. Max explained to me. He handed a few chocolates so I could give them. He handed me a few chocolates so I could give them out to these tiny creatures. In the flashlight beam, their cute pastel pink and blues were easy to make out. The small fairy hand tickled a little when they reached out over to grab a chocolate. After seeing dark and nearly heart-stopping terrifying monsters, the little guys was a very welcoming change. A few minutes passed, and I felt something brush against my neck. I thought it was some hair on the back of my jacket. I thought it was some hair on the back. I thought it was some hair or the tag of my jacket. Max looked over at me and then reached over at the back of my jacket collar. He plucked one of the fairy spiders off from where I had felt it. He plucked one of the fairy spiders off from where I had felt it a second ago, putting it on the ground with his friends. He gave it a treat and sent it on his way. For some reason, he reached over to me to zip my jacket up all the way to. Oh my god, that's so funny. That's funny though. For some reason, he reached over to zip my jacket up. For some reason, he reached to. For some reason, he reached over to zip my jacket all the way up to my shin. I looked at him rather confused. It's best if you don't let them go on your neck. They, Max paused in the same way he always paused when he had some sort of bad news to give. They like to burrow into human skulls. It kills them, but somehow they connect to the brain, keeping it alive, and the humans aware of their body rotting away, unable to do anything. We honestly don't know if they do it for food or if it's just for we honestly don't know if they do it for food or if it is just for fun. I drop all the chocolate in my hands to bring them up to my collar to tighten it closer against my skin. Why couldn't I just have one nice thing with this damn job? Max, please read the mood here. I didn't need to know that. I just wanted to think there was just one nice creature out there. But now this cursed fact is in my head, making me unable to find these little spiders as cute as before. After a few minutes, we saw less and less of them. We still had a whole other bag of chocolates left to give out. I didn't know if we had to sit there all night waiting for more to show up. Max didn't say we will only give. Max did say we only. Max did say we only will be a few minutes at this job. When he didn't see any more of the spiders, he backed up a little to give himself some space on the trail. Using a claw finger, he drew a perfect circle in the dirt. And I mean perfect. I was impressed, but according to my snooping, Max was a few 100 years old, so he had time to practice. Placing the open second bag in the middle of placing the open second bag in the middle, he started to write strange symbols around the circle. I knew supernatural creatures use spells. I never saw them use one, so I thought the spell was just chanting or with wands or something. Max noticed my confusion and stopped to explain what Max noticed my confusion and stopped to explain what he was doing. I don't think I've shown you a written circle spell yet. Most of our spells are circle-based ones. Even humans can use them for summoning and the like, but it's really rare. It happens because you don't know how to write our language. You also don't have the same kind of power in your blood for the spell to get energy from, so you need to use sacrifices. And you need to draw a perfect circle yourself without the use of tools. Spells are easy for creatures like us because we have always used them, and practice drawing a circle the moment our hands can move. I'll break down what this one is for. Max had told me that hundreds of years ago, humans had gotten a hold of the knowledge to summon a Max had told me that a few hundred years ago, humans had gotten a hold of the knowledge to summon a mass slaughter monsters. Because of that, cryptid removed certain spells and didn't accept humans working until I was higher. I was flattered that he felt safe enough telling me how this spell. I was flattered that he felt safe enough telling me how this spell worked, until I realized he only was because he was certain I couldn't draw a circle, let alone the complex writing surrounding it. So, the first layer of writing should always have the name of what you're directing the spell towards, followed by the action. Because this one is very simple, we only have two layers. Max explained, pointing to the first line of text surrounding the circle. In seconds, he's scratching the dirt more of the odd writing, however, didn't finish it. Spells with complex actions against powerful creatures need a lot of spell with complex actions against powerful creatures needs a lot of circles, text, and sacrifices. This spell is directed towards the little spiders we saw before. They can enter the circle only if they have not eaten chocolate in the past month and can only leave with one piece to keep them from getting greedy. The second layer is to make the chocolate invisible to everything but the spiders and protect it from the elements. This also breaks in a month, so we just need to come by and pick up an empty. This also breaks in a month, so we just need to come by and pick up the empty bag. This also breaks in a month, so we just only need to come by and pick up the empty bag. I wasn't expecting this to be so well thought. I wasn't expecting this to be so well thought out. I made notes inside my little book I carry with me. As I was writing, Max found the old bag from the previous trip and picked it up from a nearly faded circle. This system made it so any latecomers would still get their chocolate and one. That's quite a sentence. This system made it so any latecomers would still get their chocolate, and one of us didn't have to stay and wait. Only around 20 minutes passed since arriving. I wasn't expecting us to be done so soon. A rumbling off in the distance made me glad we weren't going. A rumbling off in the distance made me glad we weren't going to stay outside all night. I guess we're done here. Let's find the door and head back. I said, standing up with a stretch. I double checked to make sure no little spiders were hanging around. Oh my god. I said, standing up with a stretch. I double checked to make sure no little spiders were hanging around on my jacket and near my neck. Wait, no, not yet. This is the best part. We're close by to a really neat place. I never get this job, and I can't wait to go by and see it. Max looked like an excited teenage girl. I shone my flashlight on him to see his tail wagging away. It was hard to believe he had killed humans before, because it was just his culture to do so. He looked far too nice to do any harm. As long as we leave before the rain starts, then lead the way. I didn't have the heart to make him go back after seeing how excited he was. Max left me behind again, humming a song really wish he would forget about. Max left me behind again, humming a song I really wish he would just forget about. I wasn't sure what to expect. After all, Max wasn't human, so his tastes weren't predictable. I did not expect for him to stop in front of an old wooden and clearly closed bridge. He waited for me to walk up and pose in front of it as if I was whisking. Try again. He waited for me to walk up and pose in front of it, as if I was witnessing the eighth wonder of the world. It's a close. is a close is a close bridge. I stated the obvious. Is the Red Devil's Pass. Oh no, I gotta say that right. Because he says it in such a way that it sounds like you almost insult him, you know? It's the Red Devil's Pass. Mass. It's the Red Devil's Pass. Mass corrected, sounding offended. For over 100 years, people have claimed to see creatures or the devil himself on it. Rumor has it, on a full moon, if you go over the bridge at midnight, you have a chance of your soul being snatched away. It's not at all true, of course. Then why are you so excited? Oh my god. This is comedy gold. I like the interaction between Max and the names and the main character. It's just so lovely. Can't get enough of those two. Excuse me. Max paused and looked at me. He did not understand why I saw this as just some local legend hotspot and nothing special. I will admit that having a person with dog features claiming the local supernatural rumors to be fake was a bit weird. I really should start asking him if certain cryptids were real or not. Oh, right. You're human. It's easy. Oh, right. You're human. It's easy to forget that. Is, well, huh? How to put this? A spot with such a history holds a certain power, I guess? Creatures like myself can get a thrill just being in the same area. Creatures like myself can get a thrill just being in the area. Some even absorb all the remaining feelings the rumor leave behind. The longer the history, the better. That makes sense. In my mind, I thought of it as someone from the city going to a place with clean air. I understood why Max was so happy for this job. He got to see cute spiders, and now he was able to see a supernatural tourist area. More rumbling came, threatening a storm. All right, but I do think it's going to rain, so I just go across the bridge and back. It'll only take a few minutes. I'll finally be able to take this area off my list of places to visit. I was fine waiting for him. He easily climbed over the waist high. I was fine waiting for him. He easily climbed over the waist high boards warning. He easily climbed over the waist high board warnings people that the bridge was He easily climbed over the waist high boards warning people that the bridge was out of service and dangerous. Honestly, the signs looked useless. If anyone really wanted to go in, they could. But it was But it was B. But it was B either. No, oh my goodness. But it was going to be their funeral if the wood gave out under them. I wasn't worried for Max though. I see him kick down a solid metal door with no effort. Even if he fell through to the water below, he will only stand up smelling. Oh my god. Even if he fell through to the water below, he will only stand up smelling like a. Even if he fell through to the water below, he will only end up smelling like a wet dog. It took a lot to injure him. It took a lot to injure him. I was not prepared when in the middle of the bridge, he suddenly stopped his giddy little walk and simply collapsed. I stood holding my flashlight, not being able to accept what I saw. Max never runs out of energy. He never slows down. So why did he just fall over? I didn't even see any other person or creature around us. Without thinking, I ran to him. I leap over the boards and onto the creaking wooden bridge. A sudden force on my back slammed me down onto the wood, A sudden force on my back slammed me down onto the wooden slam. A sudden force on my back slammed me down onto the wood, making a creak. Making I creak. A sudden force on my back slammed me down. A sudden force on my back slammed me down onto the wood, making it creak so loudly I thought it would break. It was a struggle racing my head. It felt like gravity just suddenly increased around me, pinning me down. My uniform, as I understood, it was a little bit magical. It protected me from sharp claws and even bullets. But it couldn't fully protect me from the crushing force pressing down on me. I couldn't move, but I had to see if Max was alright. I refused to give in to whatever was trying to keep me down. I raised my head as much as I could to see a figure step onto the bridge near Max. A large, dark hand reached down to grab him by the back of his jacket and started to draw him along towards me. A large, dark hand reached down to grab him by the back of his jacket and started to drag him along towards me. He remained limp, and my chest hurt seeing him getting dragged like a rag doll. It took everything in me to raise my head enough to see what had taken a hold of my friend. Sweat poured down my face, and in the dim moonlight, I saw the creature. It was massive. The entire body was a black with cracked skin. Different torn fabric hung down its neck, covering most of its body in layers. The thing had no head, just an empty neck with flames spouting out. As it got closer, the flames flickered, and I thought I saw a shape of a smiling mouth in the dancing flame. Each studying step made my heart want to stop. Looking at Max again, I struggle even. Looking at Max again, I struggle even more trying to sit up. I wanted to do something. I could not forgive myself if he got hurt. Not after everything that had happened from my last jobs, and not after I failed to protect a single person. By some miracle, I was able to get up. By some miracle, I was able to get up on my elbows. By some miracle, I was able to get up on my elbows before a massive foot came down on my back, shoving me down. My lungs felt like they were going to be crushed. If I didn't have my uniform on, I would have died. Okay, and this is gonna be the lines for the person, the anonymous narrator. Oh, my back. Okay. Nothing else. I just check if anybody made any more comments on the streams. But so far, nobody else has. So, let's continue. Woohoo! Think that I'm halfway through. Yeah, pretty sure I'm halfway through. Take a small breather. The creature's voice was sweet sounding. It was soft. The creature's voice was sweet. The creature's voice was sweet sounding. It was so off-putting. I would have preferred a raspy, threatening one, even with the creature's voice was sweet sounding. It was so off-putting. I would have preferred a raspy, threatening one. Even with the foot forcing me down, I summoned enough strength to get my hand off the bridge to reach towards Max. He looked asleep and unharmed, so that was a good sign for now. More of the anonymous narrator right here. The creature lifted a foot and kicked me. The creature lifted a foot and kicked me. The creature lifted a foot and kicked me against the sign so hard that they tore free. Again, I was thankful for the uniform protecting me. I still had the wind knocked out of me and couldn't sit up for at least a minute. I sat gasping, trying to get up to see if the creature and Max were still there. I was no match for this thing. I had no special skills or knew any spells to stop it. The one thing I learned from my job was supernatural creatures love. The one thing I learned from my job was supernatural creatures love deals. My only hope was I had something this thing wanted more than Max. Let him go. My voice was pathetic, but those flames looked surprised. I spoke up. Okay, so this is the anonymous narrator. The monster ass, all maxed up by his jacket so his paws dangle off the ground. He's my friend. What can I trade for him? Oh, I gotta do that. Make him sound stronger. He's my friend. What can I trade for him? I tried to sound as strong as I could, but I wasn't even able to sit up fully yet. I doubted this creature would want to make a deal with me. It could just kill me and be done with it. I was a mailman and on the job, and I have to worry about supernatural clients eating me. But the flaw in that was if I wasn't delivering something to the creature, they could kill me and only get a slap on the wrist. Sure, the postal company didn't like having to hire new workers, but if we walk into another territory, Sure, the postal company didn't like having to hire new workers, but if we walk into another's territory, it was our problem. And this was a big problem. This bastard had been waiting on the bridge for people like Max to show up. I knew creatures ate each other to gain. I knew creatures ate each other to gain power. I knew creatures ate each other to gain power, but Max joked none would go for him because he was so weak. Seeing how strong he was compared to a human made me scared of how strong other monsters out there were. According to all the rules, I knew this ambush was valid. The anonymous narrator over here again. The flames stopped flickering as if in deep thought. My entire body felt chill as I waited for it to speak again. Anonymous narrator, scrolling down. We're getting somewhere. I I couldn't believe this thing was going to make a deal with me. I had recovered enough to stand, giving one last look at Max and mentally promising I will save him. I ran down the trail. My first thought was to find the door we came out of and go to the receptionist telling her about the situation. I hadn't paid any attention to where we came from and fear I would waste the entire night looking and getting lost looking for the door. Oh. I hadn't paid any attention to where we came from and fear I would waste the entire night looking and getting lost looking for the door. I checked my phone, trying to find my location. I had no idea where I was. The door dropped out. The door dropped us out in different parts of the country most times. I didn't know how long the trail was and if I would find any help or a city by sunrise. My phone had no signal. Even on data, it refused to load. It might be because I was in the middle of nowhere, but also because there was a creature in the area. Max told me that supernatural creatures messed up cell phones if they were around them. Because he was on the weaker end, my phone had no issues with him, but whatever was on the bridge behind me was much stronger. I could only stick to the trail, hoping to get into some sort of signal. Range. My bad luck kept happening. I heard more rumbling of thunder, and the sky opened up. In seconds, it was pouring down so hard I could barely see in front of me. I dropped my flashlight back on the bridge, but I knew I would lose at least one and kept a smaller back. Excuse me. My flashlight back. I dropped my flashlight back on the bridge, but I knew I would lose at least one and kept a smaller one as backup in my pocket. It didn't help as I kept running down the trail, mud and water splashing against my pants, my socks and shoes soaked in seconds. The slick mud made me trip, gracefully sliding along a face full of water. I sat up, panting, about to start running again, but my brain finally caught up to my body. I had to calm down and think about this. If I found the door leading back to the zero room, I didn't think I would get help to save Max. I doubt the postal company had pounds of human flesh just around ready for a trade. In this rain, and with my small light, I doubted I will. In this rain, and with my small light, I doubted I will find the door we came through to start with. If I go to a town, then what? I will never be able to convince someone to come with me and just let me cut part off. I will never be able to convince someone to come with me and just let me cut part off of their. I will never be able to convince someone to come with me and just let me cut off part of them. Let me. I will never be able to convince someone to come with me, and just let me cut a part off of them. Even if I did, there was no way to really prove they were a virgin or not. Getting someone else, getting someone else up on, getting someone else up on, getting someone else to the bridge. Getting someone else up to the bridge was never an option. Deep down, I knew from the start what I had to do. I had to find something sharp. If I could just find an axe, or hell, I will settle for a large kitchen. I have to find something sharp. If I could just find an axe, or hell, I will settle for a large kitchen knife at this point. The moment I recover enough, I needed to keep running down the trail until I found a house or barn. With a plan in my head, and the rain thankfully letting up to a drizzle, I started running again. Rufus gave up a leg for me. I was going to return the favor to save his son. In that moment, I thought I was all on my own and no hope of any help showing up. I literally ran into a possible solution. In the small beam of my light, a dark shape rose from the ground. I didn't stop in time, running full speed into it. I tasted a briny liquid slam into my mouth. I backed away, spitting, trying to get rid of the taste. Slithers? I was so shocked I forgot to address the creature as Honor. It didn't seem to mind. Slithers was a creature that made of squirming black snake-shaped tubes. It had no face aside from a pair of white burning lights hovering over the wiggling mass that looked like eyes. We met on my second job. I didn't know much about them aside from it might be soft for human girls. I had no proof of that. I had no proof on that assumption. I had no idea why Slither suddenly appeared. Max is in trouble. Can you send out a message? We need to get someone here to help him. I spelled out in frantic voice. To my disappointment, Slither formed two arms, raising them in front of his body, and his eyes shook in a clear no. A burst of rage came to my chest, but I calmed down when I remembered how these creatures work. Most of them did not get involved in others' affairs. Most of them did not get involved in others' affairs. Most of them did not get involved in others' affairs. It wasn't Slither's place to help out. Still, why were they here? I haven't even heard anything about them since that brief delivery job. I need a knife, or a blade or something. Can you go and find something like that for me? Hey viewer, welcome. I'm almost done narrating this story over here. Hey Kashito, welcome to the chat. I'm glad that you stopped by. Let me go ahead and put that over there. Excuse me. Scroll a little bit more down. Oh, we're almost there on the finish line. At least the finish line for this story. I want to do 2 stories, but I'm getting way too drowsy to continue on for another story. I could always record it tomorrow. Tomorrow for you. More like a couple hours later down the line for me. So y'all get to get on a live stream. Yay! I pray this will work. I pray this will work. If Slitters couldn't send a message asking for help, maybe they could provide me what I needed. I didn't know if they would. I didn't know if they would do it for free though. I may need to make a deal with them for this request. It looked like Slitters was thinking it over. Their eyes darted back and forth, and I felt my anxiety rising. I could almost see the exclamation point over Slitter's head as a wiggling hand went to their. I could almost see the exclamation point over Slitter's head as a wiggling hand went to their chests. To my horror, Slithers formed 2 hands to reach in and pull their chests apart, keeping the hole open. He dug around to start and pull random items out, covering what looked like to be ink. Army helmets, duck tags, rusted guns pour out into a pile as they rooted around looking for something. Slithers was a scavenger. They could only eat the dead or near dead. It made total sense Slithers hung around war-torn areas. Depending on how old they were, what was pouring out maybe from the Second or First World War. More mother items. More mother items such as wallets, keys, and glasses came out from the endless pit of. More mother items such as wallet, keys, and glasses came out from the endless pit of the creature's body. Finally, Slithers found what they were looking for. A rusty machete. It looked too dull to be able to cut anything. The thought counted though. I don't think that is going to work. I don't think that is going to work. I told them, trying to sound as nice as possible. I got a wave of their hand. I watched as Slithers took one of their flaming eyes into their palm and placed it over the top of the blade's handle. In seconds, the entire blade turned black and no longer rusty tone. I had no idea what had happened, but if the blade was as sharp as it looked, it would work. But for what I needed it for, I had to make sure it could cut. But for what I needed it for, I had to make sure it could cut sure and quick. Reading my mind, Slithers guided me over to a decent sized rock. On the side of the trail. Placing the handle in my hand, they held both my wrists, so I was holding the blade over the rock. With their guidance, the blade came down with no resistance. 0 resistance. It cut even smoother than a hot knife through butter. I looked at the blade. Amazed that it could cut rock so cleanly in half. Slithers pull away, and I looked at them, my mouth open, at a loss for words. Then, thank you. What did I owe you for this? Slithers raised a hand and waved it. I wasn't sure if that motion meant, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, don't worry about it, or you can pay me back later. I owe you one. I gave Slithers a wave and started to run back towards the bridge. We're getting there. Oh, goodness. I really didn't know why they would just help me out like that. I was a food source, and yet Slithers just appeared to solve my problem. Maybe Slithers was doing this for Max. Saving another creature of the night made more sense than helping a human out. Regardless of the reason, I was beyond thankful. The rain had finished when I got back to the bridge. I stopped on the first wooden plank, panting from running so hard. My heart froze in fears when I didn't see the creature or Max. Creatures always kept their deals. I shouldn't be so worried. They may worm their way out of some taking advantage of the deal's wording, but I had until sunrise. They should be here. Right when I was about to start panicking, the flaming face appeared from the dark blur. Right when I was about to start panicking, the flaming face appeared from the dark bridge as the rest of his body came into view. Max was still being dragged along, and I tightened my grip on the handle of the Max was still being dragged along, and I tightened my grip on the handle of my new blade. This is gonna be the anonymous narrator. And now it's my turn. I'll give you what you want. In exchange, you let Max go free. You won't hurt him in any way and let him get the hell out of here. Anonymous narrator over here. That sweet voice made my skin crawl. I couldn't stand hearing it again. I also couldn't hesitate any longer. If I did, I would lose my nerve. Stripping off my soaking uniform jacket and long sleeve shirt, I put the blue. Stripping off my soaking uniform jacket and long sleeve shirt, I put the blade under my left arm at the shoulder. I didn't know how much of a human. I didn't know how much a human arm weighed. I really hope mine was at least 5 pounds. Since getting this job, I started lifting weights, but my arms were still on the scrawny side. I counted to 3. I went one last. I counted to 3, and with one last look at my friend, I pushed the blade upwards. It didn't hurt. I must have been in shock. I heard a thump of the sever. I heard a thump of the severed arm hitting the wood below, and a rush of warmth down my side. The blade dropped from my hand. My head became light from the instant blood loss. It was only then I thought I was going to die. If the bleeding wasn't stopped soon, if the bleeding wasn't stopped soon, that will be it. At least I will die without facing shame of a menace. Oh my, you gotta be shitting me on this. At least I will die without facing the shame of admitting to Max I was dying a virgin. I wish I had someone in my life who could nuke my browser history so my father wouldn't see it. I was seconds away from collapsing when I heard a shrill, horrible laugh. The creature I had made a deal with was cackling away as if it were just seen the funniest thing in its life. At least someone was enjoying this. Anonymous narrator. It said between laughs. It said between laughs. Its large claw had burst into flames. I was unable to stop it from pressing it against my bleeding shoulder. I screamed from the flash of white hot pain. I screamed from the flash of white hot pain. I only lasted a few seconds, smelling my own flesh cooking and hearing it sizzle. I passed out, thinking I wasn't ever going to wake up again. I really wish I hadn't opened my eyes. Everything felt heavy. It was impossible to sit up for a few minutes. I went from sleeping and waking for a few. I went from sleeping and waking for a while until I could finally move my head. I was in some sort of medical area that in a way it looked like a school nurse's office with a few beds oh man, that is a long one. I was in some sort of medical area that in a way it looked like a school nurse's office with a few beds beside each other. Groaning, I sat up a little on my pillow. Groaning, I sat up a little on my pillow, trying to make sense of things. My shoulder was wrapped in some bandages with this. My shoulder was wrapped in some bandages with that strange language Max has used for his circle spur. Oh boy. Woo. We're almost done. Almost done. My shoulder was wrapped in some bandages with that strange language Matt had used for his circle spells. I expected it to hurt more. I didn't even see any burn scars. They must have hooked me up with some good magic or drugs to make me feel decent enough after losing an arm. Someone sat on a chair next to my bed. They didn't even look up from a book when I moved. I couldn't read the writing on the cover, but based on the illustration, it was some sort of trashy romance book. They didn't look like a doctor or a nurse. I didn't recognize them and thought we never met before. Their hair was white that faded into a bright red. It flowed over them and touched the floor. I was guessing they were female, but it was hard to judge under the bundles of fabrics. When they looked up, I was shocked by how beautiful of a face that was looking at me. Red eyes watched me for a few seconds. Guest narrator. I didn't know who or what this person was, but I felt like I heard that voice before. Guest narrator again. Mm-hmm. The person gave me a blinding smile that made me feel like the world's biggest idiot. Why didn't I attack the thing in front of me? I had a weapon, and it even said it could cut through anything. I let out a groan pain coming I let out a groan pain coming to my temple and my face flush. Still, even if I did attack it, I was still human. I might not have even been able to get I might not have even been able to get ahead in it. I might not have been even able to I might not have even been able to get ahead in. Even if I did, some monsters didn't die if you cut them in half. Attacking was an option, but sacrificing myself was the safer of the ideas. It might have not worked. My voice was weak from my injury and from a very dry throat. The person beside me let out a cackle enjoying my answer. Guest narrator. They stood up, towering over me. They stood up, towering over me. I still had no clue who they were, but I was more worried if Max made it out all right. I didn't see him in the room. It's Max. Guest narrator. They got a couple lines over here. They're quite lucky. And I'm almost done. Ooh. I felt my heart race at those words. I had accepted dying. Now I was being told someone I didn't know gave up a year of their life to help me out. I didn't understand why. I do appreciate that, but who are you? Instead of being offended, they only smile. A sinister looking smile that made me very uncomfortable. Guest narrator. As they spoke, their entire shifted, and the image of a beautiful face fell away into flames and a dark figure. The thing from the bridge stood over me as I felt the heat of the flames on my face. I let out a high-pitched shriek, trying to get far away from the thing. More shrill, more shrill laughter as the more manageable face form. More shrill laughter as the more manageable face form came back. Other narrator. I did not like that idea. My body protest. My body pro. I did not like that idea. My body protested against being alive in the moment. I did not want to let my guard down in front of this monster. I had no choice in the matter. The sudden movement took everything out of me, and I passed out again. I was being treated by the postal company, and didn't see much of Max. Rufus dropped by to shake up on me and to tell me Max was just fine. He was forced into a nap on the bridge while came out of it missing an arm. I was told Max will drop by when he had time. There were a sudden influx of mail deliveries, so he needed on the There were a sudden influx of mail deliveries, so he was needed on the field. Rufus also didn't want. Oh my goodness. Rufus also didn't want him to see me missing my arm, because when Max got upset, it was very hard to cheer him up again. I was perfectly fine with that. I didn't want him to see me worn out and in pain. I was not alright with the fact Rufus let slip. Apparently, I was the talk of the company because I had gone on literally the easiest job and came back nearly dead. Most just thought it was amusing, but I knew I was never going to let. Most just thought of it as amusing, but I knew I was never going to live this down. Replacing an arm on a human wasn't something they normally do. Replacing an arm on a human wasn't something they normally had to do, but it worked out. I really didn't want to know where they got the arm though. As promised, I couldn't feel hot or cold things. I could barely hold anything in my left hand. I was told if I kept working at it, I would gain some strength back. I will never be at 100% again with that hand. Honestly, I was alright with that. Max got out safe. It was well. Max got out safe. It was well. Max got out safe. It was well. It was well. It was well worth the cost of an arm. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be stuck in the sorting room for a while. Putting me out into the field was just bad. Putting me out into the field is just bad luck. I really didn't want to go out for another delivery job fearing the worst. When I let this fear slip in front of Rufus, he just gave me a beaming smile, saying they already had some jobs lined up for me and Max. I know he was trying to comfort me. Bless him. He tried his best, but he wasn't really helping. And that's today's story, Outlaw. This is part 3 of the mail delivery story for cryptids. I quite enjoy it, and if you saw this live, you saw me laughing my butt off on some parts and loving how adorable things can be. Otherwise, I'm really interested on the main character per se. He wants to do what's right to make amends for his mistakes that he's done on 2 of his deliveries already. This is mistake number 3. This one cost him an arm, but at least he saved Max, and we love our boy Max over here, besides Rufus. bloopers. All right, and like I said, this is today's story. Hope that you like it. Leave a comment and a like, and if I earn it, go ahead and subscribe. What are you waiting for? And like always, I see y'all on the wasteland. And that's it. That's all the energy that I got for today. Just that one story. That was over an hour long. An hour and 20 minutes of narrating with mistakes and breaks. Glorious. It just needed to get done. And I see you there, viewer number 3. I'm glad that you stopped by. You seem to be the quiet listening type. That's okay. I'll respect that. You know, that's cool. But I'm gonna go ahead and start. First, I'm gonna go ahead and save this thing over here. I need to rename it. 9624. The delivered mail to cryptids. We got easiest job possible, but still almost die. Written by alright. Go save all. Cool. Now welcome viewer 2. Just to let you know, we're about to close out the stream. You're welcome to give me a follow. So that way you know when the next live stream, the next narration live stream is. Feel free to comment or not. Either way is fine. I'm way too exhausted right now. Let me leave a comment on that other player. Alrighty. Off. And off over there.